Imagine sitting on the edge of your seat, heart pounding, convinced a character you've grown to care about is about to meet a gruesome end, only to have them survive. That's the unique tension at the heart of Black Phone 2, and it almost didn't exist. Believe it or not, a studio note nearly forced the death of a character, potentially changing the entire dynamic of the film. But here's where it gets controversial. Some fans are actually irritated that nobody dies on screen. Why the division? Well, horror fans love to categorize their favorite films. The Black Phone and its sequel are tricky because they blend elements of serial killer thrillers, supernatural horror, and even slasher films. This genre-bending approach can be fantastic for some, but frustrating for others who expect a clear-cut slasher experience. The primary criticism leveled against Black Phone 2 is that, unlike typical slashers, all the murders happened before the movie even begins. Think about classic slasher flicks like Halloween or Friday the 13th. The body count is a major part of the experience. Black Phone 2 deliberately subverts that expectation. For those who enjoyed Black Phone 2, this unique quality is precisely what makes it so refreshing. It feels inspired, different. But director co-writer Scott Derrickson and co-writer C. Robert Cargill faced an uphill battle. They were determined to make a genuinely scary movie without relying on on-screen deaths. And this is the part most people miss. One studio executive pushed hard for a change. According to Jacob Hall's conversation with Cargill on the Slash Film Weekly podcast, the character who almost met her demise was Barbara, played by Maeve Beatty. In a standard slasher, Barbara, often perceived as close-minded and judgmental, would be prime fodder for the killer's blade. She's the character you expect to die first. Yet Derrickson and Cargill held their ground, allowing Black Phone 2 to defy those expectations. This decision wasn't arbitrary, though. It was inspired by a classic. The filmmakers drew inspiration from the 1980 ghost story, The Changeling. While not explicitly a high body count horror film, The Changeling remains one of the most chilling and effective movies ever made. Cargill told Slash Film that he and Derrickson wanted to experiment with a similar tone in Black Phone 2. One of me and Scott's favorite ghost stories of all time is The Changeling, and that is an absolute low body count movie, but it's terrifying. So we knew we didn't have to kill people to make people scared. We also knew that people would assume they were in danger. So just by the very aspect of having them there, if we made them interesting enough, if we made them likable enough, people would care about whether they lived or died. They knew they couldn't constantly tease the audience with near-death experiences without delivering on the bloodshed eventually. Especially since Black Phone 2 is structured somewhat like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. With the grabber, Ethan Hawke, now able to attack in the real world from beyond the grave. Cargill explained that they had to carefully manage the pacing. It did kind of hamstring us in that we couldn't keep faking the audience out. We couldn't keep putting people in danger and pulling them out of danger with nobody getting hurt. So it did give us a limited number of times we could get away with that kind of buildup. By focusing on atmosphere, suspense, and character development instead of gruesome kills, Black Phone 2 became a richer, more nuanced film. It allowed them to explore deeper themes and mythology. Cargill noted, "There were discussions later about killing characters, but we always found we were cutting out character scenes. We were cutting out deeper pushes into mythology. We just didn't have the space for it. And also, we had the scares that didn't need it. So we were able to connect with audiences and scare the crap out of them without having to have a body count." The irony, of course, is that Black Phone 2 is about an undead serial killer who doesn't actually kill anyone on screen. This led to some tension during production, culminating in the aforementioned executive suggestion to kill off Barbara. Cargill clarified that no draft of the script ever included a major character death. There was an ask from an exec at some point. It was like, can we just at least kill the bitch die Christian character? Which is the one that everybody's like, she was the one that was going to die, right? But no, We had never killed any of these characters in any of the drafts. The film's box office success proves that audiences were captivated by the grabber's menacing presence and the film's overall atmosphere, even without the usual blood and gore. Ethan Hawke's performance truly sells the character as a genuine threat. So, Black Phone 2 begs the question, does a horror movie need on-screen deaths to be effective? Or can suspense, atmosphere, and compelling characters carry the weight? What do you think? Did you miss the slasher elements? Or did you appreciate the film's unique approach? And perhaps more controversially, do you think killing off Barbara would have improved the film? Or would it have been a disservice to the story's overall message?